My name is Sal. I play bass in Sacred Souls.
What up? I'm Alex. I play drums.
My name is Josh. I play my voice. And we are the Sacred Souls here at Amoeba. What's in your bag?
So get up now.
I picked a reprint of Ornette Coleman's The Shape of Jazz to Come. I grew up with cartoons, and I grew up with this cartoon called Ed, Ed and Edie, which is a classic Cartoon Network cartoon, and all of the music, I actually haven't done any digging to see if it's who it is, but it sounds a lot like Ornette Coleman. This is a beautiful record, very free, but at the same time the melodies are meaningful and will stick to your head, and I'm a big sucker for like candy melody, and I feel like this has a lot of that, at least for me.
Picked up this Blind Willie McTell record, one of the most badass blues musicians.
Don't a man feel bad when his baby's on the cooling bowl?
I was like listening to this guy a lot last year in this European tour that we did in like April. Got me through some dark times. There's this song called Dying Gambler. It's got two vocals on it. I'm not sure, it's Kate McTell. I'm not sure if that's his wife or not, but it's a very like, kind of a creepy blues song, but I really like it.
Tell me where is the gambler? Wonder where the poor man's gone. Tell me where is the gambler? Lord, I wonder where the poor man's gone.
He's a crazy guitarist as well. Dig his songwriting.
I hope my heart will change. I don't want to die the same. You must lay some flowers on my grave.
I picked out this Sonny and the Sunliners record. This was like a pretty big staple growing up in my house. My dad played this all the time. This album, I think, is like the perfect example of like San Antonio soul. You know, it has its own, they have their own scene out there. This dude was like, I think for the time, like the only Chicano that was getting like American like airtime like on TV. And the whole album is like covers of classics that were, you know, popular at the time.
I only have eyes for you.
This one was a staple. My dad put me onto this. Smile Now, Cry Later, all just like huge titles in the scene and in the soul scene. Shout out to Big Crown for putting out the reissue.
Smile for my friends and cry later for you.
I grabbed this record, Outlaw, by Eugene, McDaniels.
Long as I have my clams, I don't give a damn about muddy water.
The reason I grabbed it was because I was trying to grab the record Headless Heroes, which in the last couple years has been on repeat for me just because it's equal parts really beautiful and social justice conscious. There's been a void for me in the marriage of those two things, especially just in the day and time we live in. I feel like it's never not been relevant, but right now it feels even more so. And so Eugene McDaniels sits in that place that like James Baldwin sits for me, which is like a teacher that's no longer here to teach me personally, but through their art form. So I'm excited to check out Outlaw.
Nervous breakdowns crowd the calendar of freedom when reality is forced upon the non-believer's ego plan.
Got this Elvin record. One of my favorite drummers. He always inspires me. Like sometimes, like before a gig, I'll put on some Elvin Jones and just listen to his like drum solos and try to get in that headspace. I think at that time, a lot of like other jazz musicians like weren't able to play with him, and Coltrane was like one of the first like to be like, yo, I like that you're freaky, you're playing some weird shit and dropping some bombs, you know. So he's just like a very loose player, and like I think he's like a leader when he plays. Like he's able to like shift like the time, or like he was like, him with Coltrane was a very powerful duo.
I grabbed this Rafi Pagan LP. Another staple that was just, like I said, always playing in my household. Pretty much my gateway into oldies and soul was like most of this album. Songs are in Spanish and English, some sad, some heartfelt, and kind of a mystery because he's pretty short-lived. I think he was murdered like in his late 20s, but his albums were all hits, and it's a good one.
The next one I picked up is from Beverly, Glenn-Copeland.
Roads will take you there anytime.
I can't tell you much about this record. The record I was trying to pick up was one called Keyboard Fantasies.
Welcome the spring, the summer rain, softly turn to sing again.
Which I also can't tell you much about that one other than that when I listen to it, I'm in a good place. His voice is very dreamy and kind of euphoric, and the keyboards and the different synths and kind of weirdly feels like you're connecting to nature and to the world, although it's a lot of synths and things.
Let it go down. It's okay.
And so I decided to give this one a try just because it looks like it's some kind of a compilation. It's hard to tell, it's heavy though, so I'm assuming it's a compilation.
In the contrast of all our lives come to their ending, and all the pain erased by ghosts devoid of senses.
Picked up this Cambodian comp. There's this one track on here. There's two tracks that I like. It's one called I Wanna Be Your Lover. I don't know, these guys, it was like their interpretation of like what was going on at the time, like psychedelic music, soul music, funk, and I really like the way they incorporate like their like traditional sounds with like, you know, pop music at the time. It's pretty badass.
That album cover is just cool in
Yeah.
general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's Sal right there playing pool.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know, but me and Sal love to play billiards, so.
Next album.
Yeah, next album.
Well, the homies already did that.
Oh yeah, Brain Story already
Yeah.
did that. Never mind, we can't do that.
Nobody will save you but you.
I grabbed this compilation right here. There was a big scene, salsa scene, in New York that came out like in the early '60s.
Maria, Maria, ay, 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 Maria, Maria.
It was kind of like a underground salsa version of like Motown, I guess you could say. And they were all playing together, playing each other's songs, and it was like just a huge group effort. And it didn't really start to get like big and mainstream until like the late or mid '70s, I'd say. There's a documentary on it. This album pretty much just has like a song from each of the groups. There's like 4 or 5 45s like on here that are pretty hard to find.
I heard that you had it in mind.
This one's just, it's Andy Schaaf, The Party from 2016. It's just one of those ones that I keep forgetting that I won in my LP collection. I wore the brakes off of this one when it came out. I like Andy Schaaf, anything that he does, his projects. This record, I just love how it's like these through stories. It just feels like each song is a different chapter of this party that tickles that spot of my brain that wants to sit for story time.
Just dancing on you.
Also musically, it's just one of my favorite. The melodies are very, very memorable. Each instrument has like a memorable melody to me. He's a cool producer. He plays most of the instruments on the record, I believe. It's just, for me, a staple, so Andy Schaaf, The Party.
She says, you know, I've never really met someone like you. You know, I've never really met someone like you.
Got one of the most classic soul records you can get.
My love, I ran around on you. Yes, I took your heart in two.
It's very nostalgic for me because it was like one of the bands that got me into soul music. My dad would always play this. One of my favorite songs on this is Break Your Promise.
Are you gonna break your promise, baby? You said that you love me.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with Delphonics. They're like the OGs.
This is a folk classic. You gotta know who Woody Guthrie is.
And the judge called out my number, 2 6s upside down. 2 6s upside down, poor boy, 2 6s upside down.
Really, I was looking for Ramblin' Jack Elliott, who covers all of Woody Guthrie's music. I was pretty much a student to him. It was like the only dude who knew how to play like him.
He did some things on the guitar that I still cannot do, although I could hear how it sounded. Well, one of them was... I say, hey, how you do that? He says, just watch it and steal it. He says, I ain't gonna show it to you. Lead belly, let me steal from him and you can steal from me. I ain't gonna show you nothing.
For sure, if you're trying to get into folk or old, country and from the 40s and 50s, I would start here.
A story I will tell. Pretty boy Floyd, an outlaw. Oklahoma knew him well.
It's Ornette Coleman again, but when I was looking for the Ornette Coleman that I grabbed, it was just right there, and it's a badass cover on both sides, those colors. But it was the cover that looks like some Russian folk. Yeah. Maybe it's this way. Look at who knows? Which way do you want it? I like it like that.
Tripped out. Some French library. It's pretty dope. There's this one song called Sexopolis. It's got some really good drums and organ. It's a pretty good record. I really like library music.
This is my favorite blues artist, Furry Lewis.
Hey, baby, tell me what's the matter now.
To be honest, I don't know much about him, but something about his playing and his singing and the production in his music, it's always a little more melodic.
I ain't talking about some gambler or to see Richard Lee shot $1,000 and come out on a 3, crying when you lose your money, learn to lose.
Yeah, what's crazy too is that all these blues artists were around like the late 20s and the 30s, but I'm sure this music was being played like way before that.
Yeah.
I'm going to the river, I'm gonna jump overboard and down.
The theme of my visit mostly was, in the last several years, I've been really trying to find that sweet spot between politically active music or just music that really leans on our humanness and good music, like the balance of the two. So then I picked up this McTell record that pays homage to James Baldwin.
What's another word for trouble? 'Cause that's what we're in. Everyone's down for the struggle until it begins.
I didn't grow up on McTell, but I have friends who told me that they thought I did. They just were like, you know this artist from the 90s, you know, and I was like, I don't. The bass player, you know, I didn't know at all.
Remember back in the day when everyone was black and conscious and down for the struggle. Love brought us all together, just sitting back and talking, cultivating positive vibes.
We played a jazz festival this year, and a friend of mine was playing percussion, and so I went to the set and cried because it was such beautiful written music and so current to the qualms I have with my country or just what's going on here. And the fact that a lot of the music is connected to the history of James Baldwin in his books, who was the author that really changed the way I look at the world.
Love has never been a popular movement, and no one's ever wanted really to be free. The world is held together, really it is held together, by the love and the passion of very few people.
It's gonna be listened to too often in my household. I recommend it. Shout out to McTell.
To live in love is to be uncertain. To live in love is to bear the burden.
Thank you so much for coming in today. Really appreciate you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
It's our pleasure.
That was fun.
She's elusive.